Welcome back to the Boy Bookshelf, and today I'm going to talk about and review book 2 of the Fae series, or Fever series, sorry, by Karen Marie Moning. This one is Bloodfever. This one picks up about a week after the events of book 1. And this one I feel like, oh man, dude, I love this book. I love this book better than the first one. Still not quite my favorite book out of this series. We haven't gotten to my favorite one yet. But this one moves a lot better than the first one. This one has a lot more character interactions, or new characters than the first one. So I generally like this one a lot better. So like I said, this one picks up right after the events of book 1. Mac is still in Ireland. She's still recovering from the minor fight that happened in the end of book 1. So she's still there. She's still with Marian's. She is still seeking justice, vengeance for her sister. She has more of an idea. She definitely knows who her sister's killer is, and she's trying to still figure out a way to how to get this person to pay, particularly her dealing out the punishment without dying, because he's kind of a big baddie, kind of. But yeah, so nothing has quite changed. This one, like I said, I like this one a whole lot more. I like, the fact that Mac is not quite as soft. She is not necessarily quite sharp around the edges yet, but she's a lot more hard than she was in book 1. Her appearance, she's not super concerned about her appearance as much as she was in Bloodfever. She is accepting that blending is survival. Wearing pink, being accessorized is a good way to get noticed by the Fae and potentially end up dead. So she's accepting that. She's also accepting the fact that she needs to be able to fight. And that's what she plans on doing. Like if a war breaks out between the Fae and human, she's definitely going to fight. She's come to terms with that now. She is seeing a darker version in herself that is kind of freaking her out a little bit. She's not quite ready to give herself over to that darker side yet. She sees it lurking in the background, and she's trying to hold out from this character, from this other half of her, and what that part of her represents and is capable of, and it scares her. So she's not, like I said, she's not quite as soft, and I'm liking that. I'm liking this Mac now. Bloodfever Mac, I did not quite care for. This Mac, I can kind of start seeing her side a little bit. Mac's world, I love the fact that it has gotten a little bit bigger. Not like super big, so like compared to the like a small Clementine size world in Bloodfever, this one's probably about the size of a grapefruit now. So lack of a better term, or terminology or whatnot. But yeah, so like we get a little bit more characters, and she gets to interact with them, and so it's not just her and Baron's and a mention really of Blaine. Now it's Mac, Baron's. We meet a lady named Rona. And again, if I'm mispronouncing these, please, you can correct me. But we meet Rona, who is the old lady in the first book who was being very harsh and cold to Mac. We find out that Rona is the Grand Mistress of the She-Seers, or Fae-Seers, if I'm butchering that. And probably before I go on, there will be spoilers. I'm sorry. These books have been out for a while, for about 10 years, a little over 10 years, so Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, Rona is this grand mistress of over the Sea Seers, which women, a group of women who see the Fae, and she runs this organization, which they're the first line of defense between humans and the Fae. And we see that Rona is trying to win over Mac. Trying. Mac isn't quite stupid enough to believe everything Rona is saying. So, I love the fact that Mac is kind of thinking a little bit more for herself and not just kind of going with face value. We meet one of my favorite characters in this whole entire series, Danny. Danny is so awesome. Danny is this, smart mouth teenager that is like oh man, how would you describe her? As like a firecracker. She comes into the scene, or into these books like a firecracker. She's just so quick-witted, and I love her spunky attitude. She is so full of life. She has, trying not to give away because I have read the series, I know her arc and all that stuff, trying to separate that, what I know, to what is relevant now, which is really hard. But Danny, I love. She has a mouth on her, and I love characters who have a mouth. But so we meet Danny, and Danny is part of this organization that Rona is the Grand Mistress of. Through a phone conversation, we meet Raiden. Again, butchering names. If I'm not pronouncing it well, please correct me. But Raiden is an associate of Baron's. Can't really say friend, because Baron's not the type to have friends. He has associates and he has tools. Mac is a tool for Baron to use for his own means. Raiden is an associate, but that's all we know about him. So we don't really truly get to meet him. We talk, or Mac talks to him through a phone conversation, and that's kind of all we know, is that Raiden knows Baron's, and apparently they go way back. And that he's a little bit loose with the lips, or loose at the lips. He is a much bigger talker, and is more freeing of certain information than Baron's is. Baron's is like closed-lipped. He ain't talking. He ain't saying anything. So we meet him. We get a little taste of Christian. We haven't, we kind of ran into him a little bit in the first one, but he was just kind of dreamy-eyed guy in the first one. Now he kind of has a name, or kind of. He has a name, but we don't truly get to know him. I mean, the more that Mac kind of talks to him a little bit, we just kind of find out that he knows about the Fae, he can see them, and he wants to be able to talk to Mac about this. He has information for her, at least that's what we're assuming in book 2, to be able to help her. More knowledge is power. Power means survival for Mac. But yeah, I mean, there's some minor characters that we meet. We meet Inspector Jane. He's giving Mac a hard time in the beginning of the book. Derek O'Bannon, we kind of meet a little bit. He's kind of in the same boat with Mac. He's kind of searching for vengeance for his brother, which Mac inadvertently led to him and 16 Men's death in book 1. But that's kind of really where those two, kind of end. We don't really see a whole bunch about them. Their role in book 2 is very minor. I love how fast-paced this book is, or it felt fast-paced to me. It got the ball rolling really quick. Especially with the little hiccup that Mac encounters in the first part of the book, where Fiona, which we meet in Bloodfever as Baron's, lack of a better term, friend with benefits. It's, I say lack of a better term because, again, Barrons doesn't have friends. She just warms his bed sometimes. But she gets a little jealous, tries to kill Mac, using shades. So it you know, within the first 3 chapters, I mean, there's already been a hit out for Mac's life. So, and it just kind of goes from there. I like that we get a little bit more of a taste of Blaine. And with Blaine comes with, you know, being able to see Fairy, which is the Fae realm, and being able to see, or to experience sifting, which is their travel. They can sift between worlds in the blink of an eye. And like, it's really important that Matt kind of experienced that, because she can then understand the danger that being around the Fae presents, and especially Blaine, because Blaine is a very powerful Fae prince. But he brings her to Fairy, so we get to see Fairy, and it's kind of like he can make Matt see anything that he wants, virtually. But time moves very differently, so we get to experience that. Where Mac thinks she's spending a few hours in Fairy, she's actually been gone a whole month in the human realm. I really like, and it's it kind of goes back to, like with Fiona, making a move against Mac out of jealousy and spite, because she's no longer with warming Baron's bed. There's room now for Mac and Barons to have some tension. He is making, I guess, truly no moves against her, really, or to her, or for her, or at her. And she's not making moves against him or anything like that. It's just potential. You know, she's kind of, well, he is kind of attractive, and he's probably like, yeah, I can screw her. But they're both like, she's too immature, he's too much of a jerk. Still, so. But that tension, that ability to it's starting to the first steps of evolution for them is pretty good. And then with that, Barons kind of lets down his impenetrable walls just by a hair's breadth. Again, he is not letting Mac in to anything about him. There is a bit of a mystery. She does break into his garage at one point in the book, and she kind of hears some questionable things. Sounds like an animal's trapped underneath or underground at the garage. So it kind of like, well, what does Barons have that are there, and what kind of man is he that something's down there? What is he doing? So he hasn't really told her anything, but there are small little glimpses where where she can kind of see a sliver of a crack in his armor, or his walls, and that's kind of cool. It's like, you're human. Well, really, we don't really know, but you actually have a personality other than being a jerk. There are a few things I didn't quite like about the book. The book so book 2 kind of repeats parts or pieces of book 1. So like with book 1, Barons takes her on to like different little side jobs or road trips, finding Fae or powers of objects by the Fae. This one, he kind of does that very minor. There's only, I think, like 2 or 3 little things that he does, kind of like in Bloodfever, but they're over real quick. It's kind of minor. It's not everything is built around these trips. He's taking her to find one thing, or taking her to see if she can sense the book, the dark book. So that kind of repeats. Another thing it kind of repeats is the ending. Or the style of the ending. There was a climactic action that did kind of span a little bit longer into a couple of chapters, but in the end it was kind of like going to a fireworks show where, you know, you're getting this build up for anticipation. You know, something is going to happen. Then when you get to the end, you come to realize it was just a couple of bottle rockets and poof, it's over. It builds it up really, really good to just let you hang. It kind of felt a little dissatisfying. So that is like, that's one thing I really didn't like about the book. I also felt like the issue with Fiona, and I've kind of been tiptoeing around it a little bit without actually going into detail. But so like the thing with Fiona, I felt like was swept under the rug. When the situation so Fiona lets in shades into the bookstore while Mac is sleeping and turns off all the lights, opens windows and doors. The only light source is Mac's room. Mac is completely safe inside her room. Shades do not like light. So when she realizes that things have kind of gone awry in the bookstore, she then is left to her own devices to try and fix this and to get them out. After she does that, Blaine does kind of help her with that, which ticks off Barron's pretty well. But Fiona tells Barron's that her suspicions that it was Fiona. Barron's summarizing here just basically says, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And that's it. We're left in as readers from the Barrons that we know, we already understand that his word is law. He's not going to beat around the bush and he's going to add pleasantries to this. He's not going to justify or defend himself. He said he's going to take care of it. He's going to take care of it. But at the same time, I felt like it was too cleanly swept up. I feel like there should have been a little bit more information or a little more, I guess, information, explanation as to her reasoning, what Barron's did, anything like that. But at the same time, Fiona was such a minor character that did she really need it? Did Karen Marie Moning really need to go through all that detail for such a minor character? And especially with Barron's no-nonsense personality type, would it have really, would it have just been overkill? But still part of me is like, man, I really didn't quite feel satisfied with that explanation or that reasoning or whatnot. But despite all that, and with the ending kind of fizzling out, like I said, it built up really, really good, and then the downfall was, or the drop, the plummet was just But despite all that, it still leaves you with questions. So you still want to know what's going on or what's going to happen next. Like one of the questions that we're left with is at the end of the book. Matt announces to Barron that she's going to stay for a little bit with Rona and the other Fae-Seers. So she can learn more about herself, learn more about being a Fae-Seer, and try and get any information the old woman can give her, or she can find herself. But at the same time, like, is Matt going to be safe? Is Rona going to do something to try and get the spear away from Matt? Because Matt has this spear that is one of 2 deadly weapons to the Fae. Mac isn't going to give this away. She's not going. They're going to have to pry it out of her cold dead fingers. Also, we kind of run face to face into the book. The dark book. Why is it running around? What's going on with that? Why is Mac not quite as effective as she was the very first time she ran full force into it? And then Christian. Like, what's his deal? Who is he? What is his part? What is his role? What is his end game? In this world and with Mac and the Fae. And of course, the same question that we had last time. Who is Barron's? What is Barron's? And could there potentially be a little something brewing for Mac and Barron's later? I mean, I know. So yeah, I know about it. But it's just, those are questions that are still left behind with the book. So it does still want to lead you into this world. It does have like tiny little claws kind of into you now. It's kind of like a little cute little ferocious kitten. It's got its claws in you. It's so awesome. You still want to know more about it. But yeah, so overall, I mean, I really did like this book. I feel like this is where the series starts going. Nothing against the first book with Dark Fever. It was just, you know, it was just kind of a little bit slow paced, like a slow burn. This one, a spark is caught, and it's gonna go. I feel like it's gonna start going really quickly. But yeah, so Blood Fever, book 2, awesome book. Starts getting good. Meet new characters. World's getting bigger. If you want to do like a digital copy, like an ebook or an audio version of it, try Libby. Libby is an awesome app from libraries. It's like your local libraries. It's just online, like an online version of it. You can rent the book or audio book through them and read it or listen to it that way. I'm not 100% sure if Libby has Karen Marie Moning's book in audio version, but
it all depends on the library.
Yeah, it does depend on the library. You can have multiple library cards on the whole thing, but not advertising, not sponsoring, just informing. Because Libby's pretty awesome. But anyways, check out Libby, Barnes & Noble, Half Price Bookstore, brick and mortar libraries for the book. Like I said, it is awesome. It's starting to get good. But yeah, that is Blood Fever. Like I said, I really like this. I feel like this is where it starts getting good. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If you have any suggestions or whatnot for different books, drop in the comment section. We'll get to it. But until next time, see you later.